Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Small Talk. I don't know why I say episodes. It's not really a show, especially today because I don't have a guest. It's been a few weeks. I just figured I'd jump on and I kind of just wanted to shoot the breeze a little bit. I guess get some stuff off my mind. I feel like a lot of times these things are some form of therapy for me. You know, it just kind of sucks what's happening. You know, my family just canceled our Thanksgiving plans. It's a weird time, as everybody knows. So I hope everyone's doing well. And yeah, I just wanted to jump on and kind of catch up. I guess since the last time we did one of these, we actually played a live show. Well, live for what could be considered live now. What's up, Tommy? How you doing? You know what? Why don't we go ahead and do this? You want to come on here with me, Tom? Do we still have Tom? This is not what I advertised at all, but I'm just kind of like, as soon as I started, I'm like, we'll get somebody on here. See if he accepts. Oh, he's at work. Are you at work? Anyway, I hope everybody's well. I wanted to jump into something that I originally wrote on Facebook when on the day we put our album out. It's a bit of a backstory of like how the album was created and how we got to this point. And again, I have to fight against all the negative thoughts that come in my head about like, why do you feel like this is something that needs to be talked about, or who gives a shit, or like, when you see people kind of live streaming and it's like, what are you doing, and I don't know, I get kind of self-conscious. Believe it or not, I actually do get self-conscious about that, which I know that might sound funny from like the outside perspective, because I am pretty upfront with like, especially as far as the band's concerned, what's going on, and that sort of thing. But it is a little, I don't know, I guess there's part of you that I don't know, it's part of me that struggles with that. But anyway, I wanted to share this story about kind of how this album kind of came to be, and because it's important. It was 5 years of my life, and it's still crazy to think that it's out there in the world now. That it's out in stores, that we've been on the radio. Since the last time we did one of these, not only did we filmed a live show, which will be coming out shortly, but we've also gotten a ton of airplay. We got Sirius XM, WFUV. There's an NPR show called The Spy that's been playing us like a bunch, and it's been really cool. It's we're far from kind of like being where we quote want to be, at least in terms of it's funny how like your mindset changes from being like, oh, I can't believe, we're on the radio, to like the next day you're like, all right, well, what's the next move? How do we capitalize on it? Which is like, I kind of spoke to that feeling on Paul Motisi's show, Death Before Desk Job, which I did a couple weeks ago at this point, and which you could find that on our YouTube channel as well. But all right, let's get into this. And another part of the reason I wanted to do this is I actually filmed a version of this already, just like on my camera phone, or phone camera phone. I sound like I'm like 100 years old. And I couldn't figure out how to like upload it because the file was too big. So I was like, I should just do it as an Instagram live and then upload it later. All right, so let's get into this. This is the story of the making and the release of this album. So strap in. This is a bit of a long one, but we're going to walk you through it. In the fall of 2009, and don't mind my eyes if I'm looking off the page. I don't have this exactly memorized. In the fall of 2009, I was in a pretty low place due to the breakup of my high school / college band, Festizio. My friend and former bandmate, Andrew Krolikowski, invited me back into Vision Through Sound / Yankee Longstraw as a means to remain musically active. They also needed a drummer for their new record they were about to work on and the support tour that would follow. We made These Things Happen, that's the name of the album, and hit the road in the summer of 2010. On this tour, I struck up a friendship with their guitar player, Gary O'Keefe. Gary and I were both quite fond of happy hour at the venues we'd play, and we also spent a lot of time playing pool together waiting to go on stage. We decided it would be a good idea to take advantage of the studio time he was offered by studying music production at City College in Harlem, and we made a plan to start collaborating together after the tour. That was the seed of Gamblers. As the years went by, I got more and more into hip-hop production, and I met some incredible people and was lucky enough to be involved in some really cool projects. All the while, Gary and I would stick to our very laid-back schedule with chipping away at our side project. Sometimes we'd record once a month for a stretch, sometimes not at all for many months at a time. As I got deeper into hip-hop, I would enlist Gary and his friend Boris Palacios to help me engineer different rappers and singers that I'd want to work with. It was so great to have friends that were down to help me fulfill my dream, creating a hip-hop production album with different guests on each song. Boris and I started working together frequently, shaping what would become my 2015 album, Waiting for Carmine. It was during one of Gary and I's laid-back sessions crafting our side project when he told me that we should take the album we were making more seriously and turn it into a band. I remember the exact moment when I told him something along the lines of, "I'm not sure you'd want to see me in my taking things seriously mode." I was just afraid that it might get in the way of our friendship and the fun that we were having. I thought more and more about it, and I realized he was right. I felt really strongly about the music we were making, and I also knew that this time being in a band could be different. I was a completely different person than I was during the days of Festizio because of the knowledge of the music business I learned from getting a crash course in the hip-hop world. I started getting excited about applying some of that knowledge towards being in a band, and I agreed to do it. Boris, who at this point I considered a really good friend, agreed to join Gary and I, and we went about carefully inviting who we thought would be a good fit in the band along with us. The natural choice for me was my longtime drummer and best pal, Johnny Hoblin. Joining us on guitar would be Fran Berkman, another very close friend and collaborator from Vision Through Sound, and Joe Sanders, the powerhouse bass player of Rice Cultivation Society. We spent 2014 and 2015 finalizing the album, as far as writing it and things like that go, and then getting deeper into mixing and production. Eventually getting a master from the great Ray Marte in January of 2016. We did a string of shows in 2015 before taking a break and reassessing the lineup. Making a change at keyboard and guitars, bringing in Pete DeMeo. You might have heard some of his work from the Phantom and the Fox and Killer Whales, amongst other bands. It was with Pete that we started to get our legs under us as a live band, playing a ton of shows in 2016 and even doing a mini tour that summer. With the live band set up and the album done, it was time, I felt, to start applying that knowledge of the music industry I felt I learned in hip hop and try to form a team around the band. In other words, put out this record for real. No more half-assed efforts of throwing one link out there online and playing a subpar release show at a local bar. And let me be clear, I'm not knocking that. You have to understand, though, I've done it that way 1,000 times before. This time was going to be different, I assured myself and the band, through looking back on it, a completely unnecessary and OCD level of update emails. And just to be clear, when I mentioned half-assed, never was music making itself or, songwriting or production half-assed, ever. Unless that was like sort of the intention, like, like some like Helicopter Goes Kaboom stuff, which was a previous band of mine. We would intentionally do things quick to get like that initial reaction. But I mean more in terms of like getting the word out there, or, thinking about after the music is done. A lot of people think, oh, you're in the studio or you're making music, and okay, that's literally the first fucking part of the iceberg. Anyway, a weird thing started to happen though. I was actually getting some feedback and responses from legitimate people. Without naming specific names or companies, from 2016 to 2018, I took meetings with people who put out Nirvana records, a manager who had a massive poster of the seating arrangement of MSG from the night their client Passion Pit sold it out, email exchanges with the head of one of the most reputable booking agencies in the world, etc. Believe me when I tell you, I could go on and on about similar experiences. I was pretty excited about the level of feedback I was getting. So when someone from the band would complain about playing yet another show on some random Tuesday playing the same set, I would explain that, hey, I just spoke to so-and-so and they told me they might show up. As you might imagine, this sort of thing is initially exciting, but after, and I'll be honest, countless examples of saying pretty close to the same thing, the act got tired. I think the final night of Gamblers Part 1 was in December 2017, when we played a nearly sold-out show at Knitting Factory in Brooklyn, with our lineup featuring Evan O'Donovan, who replaced Pete DeMeo. On this particular night, the manager, who had a verbal agreement already in place with us, who I won't name, but worked for a very reputable company, flew across the country from Los Angeles to meet us at our gig. We had a meeting planned for the following day at Peter McManus Cafe, which is the bar that my family runs in the city, to make things official. But for some reason, she changed her mind about taking us on as a client in the time between seeing us live and the meeting the next day. I honestly still can't understand why. The show is up full on YouTube. We rocked that night. That's my opinion. Maybe we sucked. I don't know. The audience was great. They were. That is more than my opinion. That is a fact. Although we were pretty defeated, we decided we'd keep on fighting the fight. We played a few more gigs after that, and I took a few more meetings, but it was too late. Our rhythm section ultimately decided it wasn't worth it to go on in the band anymore, and they bowed out in April of 2018. I was totally crushed. To make matters worse, I was working two really mentally rough jobs at the time. I remember the day after Johnny and Joe, our rhythm section, quit, being in a bakery on Hempstead Turnpike, which is a highway, and I don't know if you call it a highway. Yeah, a highway on Long Island, for those who are not familiar, at 7 a.m. to pick up a cake for the catering company I was working for. And it was one of those gray, freezing April mornings. That was easily the lowest day in the history of this band. After Joe and Johnny left the band, God bless them, Gary, Boris, and Evan had my back to try to put the pieces back together. We put out a short sampler version of the album Corinthian Order EP to get at least some traction going online. Just to be clear, that was 5 songs from the album Small World, which now is out. We had initially packaged as a little teaser EP and put it out there. You can no longer find that EP on any of the streaming services because we took it down, in order to put them back on the new album and have it come out as, new music, because that's how you have to do things now, because God forbid something's out on a streaming service, it gets treated like a redheaded stepchild. But that's another story. Where were we? Okay. And we tried a few different new lineups, but nothing ever really clicked again in the same way. We played one particularly rough show at a block party in September of last year, and we were just not very good. Just to be clear, that's not 2 months ago, that's 14 months ago. But why would we be? The pace at which we were rehearsing was nowhere close to where it once was, and I think we were all just kind of phoning it in at that point. To try to boost morale, I thought it'd be fun to do something different and put out a couple of Halloween-themed covers, as that holiday was approaching, and it would sort of buy us some time between the EP we put out and the eventual release of the album. I had started hanging out with these 2 amazing musicians, the Brothers Nylon, out of Patchogue. That's a town on Long Island. And I thought it would make sense to do some demos of these Halloween covers with them, as they have a really great studio setup in their place, and they are both so talented. Gary and the guys were cool with it, so I went in with the Brothers Nylon, and what ended up coming out was a lot more than demos. I'm so proud of the work we did together, and the thought did cross my mind. If things continue to fall apart, I can start over with these guys. As we didn't really have a drummer at the time, I invited my friend Billy Reimer to play on the Halloween songs. I planned to track him at our Gamblers Part 1 HQ in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Gary was on vacation at the time, so I asked Boris if he could engineer the session. I'm still not entirely sure why, and it's not even important anymore, because Boris is a great friend of mine and has been for many years. But he and I had some disagreements, to put it very, very mildly, and a bit of an argument when we mutually decided it probably wasn't the best idea to keep working together. I want to expand on that, but I probably should just leave things as they are, which is fine. And we are totally cool now. Sometimes things happen between friends. It's no problem. Sometimes you want to kill each other. Which I wouldn't want to fight Boris, because he would definitely beat me up. Not that would happen, because he's a good guy. Okay. At this point, I had dealt with Peter, Johnny, and Joe quitting the group, and now this was another time where a really good friend of mine and I were not going to be working together in this band anymore with Boris. First time being Fran. I suppose I got used to this sinking feeling in your stomach that happens when a relationship dissolves, because when I saw that Gary wrote me not long after that, explaining why he needed to step away from the band as well, I was half expecting it. The feeling of dread that came by realizing my band had now completely broken apart was somehow also met with a feeling of new beginnings. Truth be told, it was pretty clear whatever spark Gary and I had found on that tour back in 2010 had went out somewhere along the line. I told Evan I was going to continue making music under the name Gamblers with my new friends in Patchogue, eventually adding Jimmy Usher to that mix as well. And he agreed that he'd be down to carry on in some capacity with us. I don't know if it was a timing thing or COVID-19 or a mix of both, But Evan eventually decided it wasn't ultimately going to make much sense for him to stick around after all. Jimmy, myself, and the brothers Nylon started making new music in January of this year when things started to change, which, by the way, feels like 5 years ago at this point. Jesus Christ, with this year. We were making some great shit. We still are, by the way. And my spirits were getting higher again. All the while, I still planned to try to find some way to give our album something I considered to be a proper release. I had Gary's blessing, and I thought it was well deserved. Not just for my personal investment in the idea of Gamblers, but as a testament to the hard work of everyone who had been in the band. I happened to check in with my former publicist, Brett, at Missing Piece Group. They handled publicity for the EP that we originally put out, the Corinthian Order EP, which we then took down. And I told him that I was essentially reforming the band from scratch, but that I'm still planning to put the album out somehow. I mentioned that this time around we'd be looking for a more in-depth campaign, one that would not necessarily worry about press, but more about getting the word out and hitting all of our bases. YouTube, Spotify, radio, as my computer seems to freeze. Oh no. So on and so forth. I'm going to hold my phone like this for the remaining here as I read this. This is a very professional setup, as you can see. It was a good conversation, but I didn't put too much thought into it. I was pretty resigned that the old band had essentially failed, and I was going to work to regroup with these new guys and create even better stuff. Then something happened that changed everything. Brett sent our music to a guy by the name of John Hammond, one of the head folks at Missing Piece Group. John had an extremely storied music career. He was the director of marketing for CMJ, as well as at Rykodisc Records and TVT Records, running campaigns for artists such as Nine Inch Nails, David Bowie, and Bob Mould. John agreed to manage the album campaign for Small World, giving us an immediate boost as far as reputation goes. With John on board, I haven't read this long in, since college. No, that's pretty sad. It's also not true. I do read, despite being somewhat of a moron in many other facets of my life. With John on board, we were able to partner with other key members of our team, the radio folks at the Planetary Group and Tiger Bomb Promo, and Symphonic Distribution. Symphonic is distributed by Amped, who is responsible for over 50% of all the physical music products in the entire world. When we first realized that a deal with Symphonic was on the table, I stressed the importance of getting a physical as well as digital contract. Through some back and forth, we were able to get that done. The person who heads up the physical arm of Symphonic is a guy by the name of Kevin Hopper, a former co-worker of John Hammond's at Rykodisc in the 90s. We did the deal with Symphonic in April, and we started the rollout for this album in June. Along the way, we worked out a deal with the Coalition of Independent Music Stores that guarantees our placement, CDs, vinyl, and posters in over 40 independent record stores across the country. The record is out everywhere digitally too, of course, and we're also most likely going to be in more stores that aren't in the SIMS program, the Coalition of Independent Music Stores. That's already happened. I originally wrote this on the day the album came out, so it's a little, I'll fill in any updates where they need to occur. We're also in the FYE and Tower Records databases, as well as Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The fine folks at Amped will also be working on our behalf to get us stocked in the Rough Trades, Newberry Comics, and Amoebas of the world too. Still working on those. As you may know, we've released 3 videos for the songs for songs from the album. Now it's up to 4 because we put out Bloodsport at the end of October, and there are more of those to come. Still got more. That's true. In the meantime, Jimmy, the brothers Nylon, and I will be working away at Small World's follow-up. Um, yeah, and then I go on here to just talk about how we were going to do a live performance taping, which we've since done. Which, as I stated, I think earlier, we did at the Patchogue Theater for the Performing Arts, and that'll be coming out shortly. So like I said, I wrote that the day that the album came out, and I kind of just wanted to get it out there, documented, because, you know, I mean, what I just wrote what I just read rather was 5 years of my life, you know, and I think if there's like anything to take away from all this stuff is that, like, you know, and I'll try to say this without being as cheesy as I can, but like, you know, there were so many points along the way that I could have gave up, like so many, so many, you know, and it would have made perfect sense. I mean, like, you know, whether it's the management company like coming out to our show and then not wanting to work with us, or guys quitting, or I mean, you name it. But we persevered, and we got it done. So if there's anything you take away, just take away that, which is like, you know, and I said this on the podcast Death Before Desk Job we were on a couple weeks ago, but it's honestly true, and it's like nothing is over for you until you decide it's over. You know, like again, outside of something tragic happening or something really bad happening that affects your life, and you can't, there's nothing, you know, you could do from there. Outside of that, if it's just like discouragement, or feeling like you're down, or you know, you played all the cards that you could play, like there's always, you could always dig deeper and dig yourself out of like wherever you feel you're buried in, you know. Because I'll be honest, I mean, like I said, there was a time where the band quit, the manager, and I gave one story of one manager who came out. Believe me when I tell you, like, there was a bunch of those stories. I didn't want to, as long as that was, I could have wrote, that could have been 100 times as long with other examples of shit like that. So my point is just, it's up to you of when you know, how far you want to push something. And then just to wrap up, like, yeah, I mean, since this time, you know, now we're on radio again. WFUV, that's a dream come true. Sirius XM. I'm back playing with, you know, my best friend, who's Johnny, who's now drumming with us again. You know, things are good as far as the band's concerned. I'm not going to say who because it's not confirmed yet, but we're in talks with like this pretty legendary producer about working on our next album, which is already written, and we've done pre-production on it, but we might get him involved. I'll announce that if it becomes, you know, a thing that's confirmed. So yeah, now the focus is like, how do we take everything that we've built and gotten it out there, and now where do we go from here? Which is, it's a good problem to have, and it's exciting, but it's also daunting as fuck, you know, because like part of you could be like, all right, well, you did what you were trying to do, so now go and like live like a normal life. But you know, that's not how we work as like creative people trying to A, make things, and B, get things out there. Like, it's not like you're never satisfied, you know. So like I said, times are tough right now. Everything sucks, as far as like not being able to get together with family and stuff. That's a big bummer. But I wanted to share this story because, you know, like I said, it's my life, and I also just feel like if one person gets something out of this, then like it's worth it to share, you know. And I have to like get over my I have to get over my sort of like self doubt or self I don't know what the term would be, but all the negative thoughts about like, and who the fuck cares, you know, shut up and all that stupid shit, because that's all bullshit, you know. um we need to like talk about the process of shit, because it's not, you know, it's not fucking magic. You know, it's not like, oh man, like whenever you like feel like you might be getting jealous, or might be getting like um you might have negative thoughts about, you know, oh, why did that person get that? I'm not saying towards me, like I'm nobody to be jealous about. I'm not successful, you know. Like we have like little sprinkles of like, hey, maybe something could happen, but we're still in that stage. But I'm just talking generally speaking. I I've, you know, I have that too. When you see something and you're like, damn, like what do we need to do to get there? And it's like the point is, it's like it's there's no fucking magic button, and it's not like you're just, you know, oh, they only have that because of X, Y, or Z. Likely, that's likely bullshit. They're likely whoever they're there because, you know, they didn't give up on themselves. So, all right, that's about enough cheese for one evening. But yeah, we did something different tonight. I just wanted to jump on, share some thoughts, give you a couple of so that yeah, the updates are the album's out. The album's out in stores. Spotify. We're on a bunch of Spotify playlists. Um, Not like we're on a couple like Spotify playlists. Not like the editorial ones. We're not cool enough for that yet. They haven't bestowed the "you're cool" tag on us for that. That's my stomach grumbling because I haven't eaten. But we're on a bunch of like cool third-party playlists, and also some like of the algorithmic playlists. So that's good. We got like 4 videos out on YouTube. Please check those out if you haven't already. Got a bunch of radio stuff happening, and the new album is written, and I'm working on it a lot in Patchogue. We just need to like track the drums like for real. We have like, you know, demo drums in there now, and then, you know, finish overdubs and vocals and get that thing coming out. I want to try to release it quickly. You know, what does quickly mean? Like maybe in a year, you know, which, you know, would be really quick, because, you know, I just told you this took 5 years, so you can imagine. I didn't even touch on like video production or, you know, all that, you know, PR, like all of that shit takes a lot of time. But now that we have built somewhat of an infrastructure, um, hopefully it could be quicker next time. But then there's like the financial element, and it never ends, man. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. Hopefully, like we could get together with our families on Christmas, because this sucks. But it's the right thing to do. Canceling Thanksgiving plans. Every year we do the same fucking thing on Thanksgiving. We go to my grandma's. It's great. I'm not doing it this year, and that's a bummer. So maybe that's part of the reason I wanted to like come on and chat. I've also been going on like really long, long walks. Like tonight, I actually cut it short because I wanted to get on by 8, but I did like 2.5 hours tonight. But usually I do like 3 hours, because I'm also trying to stay sober. So, which, by the way, what is it? The 20th, 4 days, I hit my 6-month mark, which is, if you know me, that's insane to think about. Totally insane. I did 3 weeks in 2016, and I thought that was an eternity. But no, I'm coming up on 6 months. So I don't know how long I'm gonna go, because it's really daunting to think about it. And then that's like one of those things where you realize, I don't know why I'm whispering, but why they say like, well, certain cliches are based in truth or whatever, but like the whole one day at a time thing, that's really all you can do, man. It's dawning on me that, because the 6 month thing I think is like significant, because originally I was literally going to do like a week and a half, or like a week, and then that turned into a month, and then I was like, let me see if I can do 90 days, because I just happened to realize that the 90th day, like I looked on a calendar, I'm like, let me do 90 days, and I went from 90 days from when I first started, and it was my birthday, August 22nd. So I was like, that's fucking crazy. So that was like my mark. I was like, all right, let me hit 90 days, and then on my birthday I'll drink. Well, my birthday came, and I was like, why get off this train, that's working for me right now? Plus I was in the middle of the album campaign, so I had to be like alert. It was like taking, everything, Zoom meetings and shit, like there was so many people involved, from the distribution side, the manufacturing side, PR, 2 different radio companies, Missing Piece Group was like handling marketing and managing the campaign. The symphonic people, who were doing like not just digital distribution, but physical distribution and video distribution. So it was a good time to kind of take a break. But like I said, I don't know how long I'll go, but I'm pretty sure I'll go at least the rest of this year at this point. So that's it. Hope everyone's good. Thank you everyone who checked in. Sorry, Tom, if I scared you by inviting you to the thing, but I just fucking around. I didn't realize you might be at work. I did realize. All right, so that's it. Everybody enjoy your night, and talk to you soon. Hopefully I'll have something. Well, I know I'll have something cool to report soon, because like I said, we're got that live video coming out. Just waiting to see on this particular publication if they're going to write about it or not. It's funny when people like I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but like there's been 2 instances recently where, okay, so here's the thing, right? With PR, this is the last thing, and then I'll get off. But like with PR, okay, generally how it works is like you're a band, you're nobody, right? I'm trying to get off the ground, so you're hitting people up like, oh, here's my thing, can you cover this? Here's my album, can you represent me on that? Like, that's generally how it goes. You're reaching out to people, but when you start getting a little bit of traction, like I said, a little bit. I'm not, my head is just as big as it always was, which is big enough to like think you can do a band, but not crazy big to where I think I'm like, I like to think I'm pretty well adjusted. But anyway, so we're at a point now where like people are hitting us up to be like, oh, we see you have X, Y, and Z going on. We want to get involved. I find that even still, like, it's one thing if I'm hitting people up and then you're not going to be responsive. I get that, because it's a cold outreach, right? It's like, why? Yeah, you're going to probably ignore me, or even if you respond, you're going to give me like a shady, not shady, shady's not the right word, but like a vague answer that's like. But now I have people hitting me up, and still sometimes I'm dealing with a communication problem, which just is like, what? Like, that's so weird. Like, why would you? I don't know. But I should stop there before I start complaining too much. But I don't know. People are strange, man. Okay. Let's end on a slightly more positive note than that. But yeah. I hope everyone is good, and hope everyone's family's okay, and I hope this fucking bullshit ends soon. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye bye.